Good afternoon, Curtis. Nice
Good
to
afternoon,
see you.
Anthony.
How are you doing today? How's your
I'm
trip?
doing all right. Yeah, we're a little ways out from the festival, but I think things are coming together quite nicely.
Well, yeah, you've got 130 features and 100 shorts, and then you have 20 other events that, like, is this like a whole year of planning and
Yeah, I mean, I
figuring
think
out
that
time slots and
it really is, and I think that probably the last couple of years it's been multiple years of planning because last year the festival was at 50% capacity, but we also didn't have the multiplex at International Village. We didn't have the Center for Performing Arts as kind of our marquee venue. So I think even last year we're trying to determine like what could be a meaningful stepping stone for where we wanted to be this year. So I think this is a year in which we can honestly say like this festival's been a couple years minimum in the making.
oh, okay. Yeah, because of course COVID happened, and then, like you say, you were only at 50% capacity, so most of what you had to share, a lot of it ended up on VIFF Connect, did it?
Yeah, last year about 70% of the films were on the streaming platform, and this year it'll be a much more modest number that's online. So certainly a focus on the in-person elements this year.
Yeah, I look forward to being back in person this year. There's a great array of different films as usual for VIFF. I'm sure you get more. Like, how many films were submitted for possible consideration to be played at the festival?
I looked at the at our database, I think right as we were locking up the program, and it was north of 4,000 films that had been, considered for inclusion, like either through submissions to us or things that our programmers had seen at other festivals or had sent directly from filmmakers we've worked with before. So
Right.
yeah, it was obviously a considerable number, and it a lot of really difficult decisions in getting it down to what at first glance seems like a really large number, but really represents a fraction of the films that we had to consider this year.
So how do you go about picking and choosing? Is it like you say, it's people have possibly seen it at other festivals, but something like the whale, that's just been just getting wonderful feedback,
Hmm.
but
Oh, I mean,
it's already sold out. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of anticipation about it, to be certain. I think there's a lot of different ways that those films are sourced and decided upon. We have a core programming staff who are, have areas of specialty, be it feature films, be it short films, and they are aided and augmented by a number of contract consultants as well. And then we're also very fortunate to have, I'm going to say it's about 3 dozen people who serve on our selection committees or our screening committees as well. And those people bring a wealth of film knowledge. Some of it is like very specialized. We have people on there who are strictly looking at animated films. We have others who are looking at documentaries. A lot of people who come from different lived experiences as well, who can speak to different types of films. And uh, because of that, the vast majority of the films in the lineup have been seen by, you know, 2 to 4, sometimes 5 people. So there's always a kind of a internal discussion about the work being seen. There's very little there that's, up in the lineup because of like a unilateral decision. And then films like The Whale, some of those higher profile films, those come to us courtesy of relationships we have with large distributors like Elevation Pictures, who have a number of films in the festival this year. So I think the conversation on that one started back in April or thereabouts, like before going to Cannes, and they were kind of giving us a sense of what they expected to be ready in the for the fall season, and then a matter of being fortunate enough to watch those sorts of films in our year-round Van City Theater here at the VIFF Center, where it's obviously, or not obviously, but a relatively small number of us who are able to watch those over the course of the summer and consider them for inclusion.
yeah, it's it must be a daunting task to go from that number of almost 4,000 down to 130. Like, it's got to take, you know, like, what do you do? Do you go play a round of golf after? Because you're probably not going to be wanting to go watch another movie.
Well, no, I guess in my case, you then start scheduling the festival, and there's all the other pieces that come with it as well. So you're absolutely right. There is a saturation point, I guess, that you risk running into. But I think that part of the role and part of the responsibility is like to be able to kind of reset after you watch every film and make sure that you're not allowing fatigue or the film you saw before or the four films you've seen before kind of color your opinion of that next film.
Right.
And yeah, making sure that you're just really present for everything you're watching. And I think part of that comes from the fact that you know there's the 130 features, 100 shorts, as you said, that are in the festival this year, but every one of those 4,000 films that we watched, plays a part in really kind of shaping our conception of cinema, of international cinema for this year. So, we're always making a decision based upon those other films we have seen ultimately. And I think that, we're talking about over 3,000 of those that were submitted to us by people who paid a submission fee to do so. And there's a contract that is an unwritten contract that is signed with those filmmakers that you're watching that film, you're giving it due consideration. And I think as a programmer as well, you're not just watching that film, but you're also watching it to kind of understand what interests the filmmaker, what you might be curious about to see them do in the future.
Mm.
So it's a much kind of bigger picture, broader scope piece of work as well.
Yeah, because it must be nice to have the International Village back. Because I know for myself, I went there, I think in 2017, and I saw three films that day. Two of them were like back to back. I couldn't even watch the end credits for the one film because the other one was starting like right away.
Yep.
They don't have trailers. They just have like a lead in the VIFF thing, and then boom, they have the intro that you're watching this because you're at VIFF, and then just went right into the movie.
Yeah, it's a real high wire act sometimes, or whatever sort of comparison you want to make, and I do think it's really nice to have International Village. We have a lot of films in our Panorama series playing there this year, as well as our Northern Lights series, so people can kind of really bounce back and forth, as you said, between those venues and get these wonderful insights into different corners of the world and the artists who are telling stories there.
Yeah, because the one film that I couldn't stay for the credits was filmed up in, I think it was in Castlegar or Cranbrook, and then the film, it was directly next door, so I didn't have far to go. It was from Hong Kong, and Tony Jaa was in it.
Yeah.
It was a very it was action packed. Place was practically, that room was almost sold out. It was hard to find a seat.
Yeah, that's the kind of whiplash, you go to a festival for like those really quick gear shifts as well.
Yeah, and it was just really fascinating to never had to race from one theater to the next.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, you've chosen you've chosen your films. So I'm curious, as programmer, how do you pick the opening? How do you pick the closing film? What what is it that you specifically look for? I'm curious about that. How does those two films, they bookend the whole festival?
Yeah, and I think that's conversation that kind of changes shape every year, but maybe some of um the general beats that are hit in that conversation are like, how do these films relate to other films in the program? Are they like symbolic in some way, or do they have like a bit of an editorial through line, that thematic through line that can be seen in other films? Is there a significance and importance to the film? Is there a relationship with the filmmakers? Is it someone whose work we've shown many times before? And I think all those were really paramount in the decisions made this year. So having Marie Clement's Bones of Crows as the opener, I think it is one of the, if not the largest Indigenous-led film production in Canadian film industry history, which is, so there's a significance to the film in terms of its kind of importance in terms of the evolution of Indigenous storytelling. And also, I think, really a timeliness to it, or I guess in one sense, there's a timeliness to that film, and there's also an epic quality to it as well. That it spans generations of this one woman's life, or decades of this one woman's life, but manages to take in this incredible breadth of experience and some very specific, some universal experiences, and really, I think it has real resonance with events of recent months as well. So I think it with Bones of Crows, it just felt like the right film at the right time. And Marie is an artist who, beyond filmmaking, has worked in theater, worked in other disciplines, has been a long-time contributor to the cultural landscape here, and we're really honored to be able to showcase this work in this space. With Broker by Corrieta, his films have shown at the festival for many years. He won our Dragons and Tigers Award decades ago, and since then has won multiple audience awards. So there's obviously that kind of continuity, that through line. For myself, personally, it was the final film that I saw at Cannes this year. I actually pushed my train departure back by a few hours so that I could squeeze it into my schedule. And it was like a lovely note to close the festival on. And I think that sat with me. And as I talked to the other programmers about it, I think it's just a good, the right note to kind of symbolically close the festival on. As well, I think thematically, it's one of those that talks a lot about community and found families is really essential or core to the film. And that is certainly like a thematic or a plot line that we see in a lot of films this year, or we've seen increasingly, I think, in the wake of, or I guess can't say the wake of COVID quite yet, but in this pandemic era, I think a lot of people have really found support systems in different forms in there and established these found families of theirs.
So you actually went to Cannes this year? Do you go
Mm-hmm.
every year?
Well, not for the last few years, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was,
Well, no, yeah.
I mean, that was really, I'd been to South by Southwest in March, where I think there was still a lot of understandable caution,
Yeah.
and Cannes, was, I think, what most people felt was kind of like the turning point, if you will, for like the enthusiasm around the return to cinemas and the return to festival culture, things like this. So it was, and obviously there are many films from the festival, from Cannes in the Vancouver Festival, but I think it was, so scouting films was important there, but I think as well just that needed adrenaline shot of being back in those spaces, seeing the work and the artists being celebrated was really essential after what have been, a couple of really hard years.
Yes. Um, so you see the movie at Cannes. Now my question is, as a film lover myself, I've been doing this for over 12 years now. Um, how do you acquire that? How do you acquire that film for your festival? How do you just go directly to the distributor? You talk to them there, or do you get it
No,
another way?
it's usually a longer process than that. So like some of those films don't necessarily have their North American or their Canadian distribution set up at that stage. So
Right.
we will sometimes know who has what going into the festival. Distributors are usually quite good about alerting you to that fact as well.
Right.
But then it does take some time afterwards. And I think, with uh, the kind of quiet spell that there was for a long time at theaters, some films just didn't sell as quickly as they would have in pre-COVID editions of Cannes. So some of those deals just took longer to lock up as well. So I think I can honestly say there was, a couple of those Cannes titles that were confirmed last week of August. So it's can be a
Wow.
long conversation, a long series of emails to get things across the finish line sometimes.
Do you start to perspire, start to sweat, going, "Oh, are we going to be able to get this? Do I
Yeah,
need to fill
yeah,
something
it's
else in?
there's certainly
Do you have something
uh,
penciled in case you don't get that film?
you
Something
usually try to
around
have
there?
your backups
Yeah.
in place or knowing what you could move up into a special presentations place if need be, and kind of your plans A, B, and C.
Right.
And yeah, no, I think that there are those films you chase and you hope you'll get, and they don't quite come to fruition. But when going through the process of again scheduling the festival, looking at the notes that our programmers and other people have written on the films, and having a chance to kind of step back from it and get a slight bit of objectivity about it and think about it as, if I were able to just attend this festival, how would I go about it?
Right.
It's I think it's always a mark of a strong festival when you're looking at various time slots and like, I can't imagine how I would decide between seeing this or seeing this. And I think we've given people a lot of really tough decisions to make this year.
Yeah. I can vouch for that. Like,
Good to hear.
yeah,
Sorry to make it difficult for you, but I'm glad we did that. So
you're sorry, but you're sorry, but not sorry, right?
sorry, but it feels like we did the right thing. You
Yeah.
know,
So, with something like The Whale, as popular as I'm sure you previously knew from other festivals, I mean, he got a standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival. Is there a reason you folks are only showing it the the one screening? Is that
uh,
what you're licensed to do? Is just for
yeah,
one?
exactly. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's because a film like that will have a theatrical release relatively shortly afterwards.
Right.
There's just the desire there sometimes to concentrate it into a single festival screening to ensure that they preserve their theatrical for it, which is understandable. They've invested a lot in this, and
Yes.
they can have that one one very fervent group of advocates for the film going out speaking singing its praises afterwards.
Well, and I hope a lot of other films kind of hit that ballpark, hit that hole in one sort of thing because there's some great films that don't get a lot of push because of course Brendan Fraser's kind of making a comeback. I've seen him coming back in he's had some smaller roles in some films over the past couple of years, but this is a big deal for him and for the film, but I've seen so many great movies at the festival over the years, and it's hard to pick and choose which ones I like the best.
Yeah,
There's some I wasn't fond of, but it just goes with the territory, right? It's just.
exactly.
But I remember it was what was that movie called? I'm drawing a blank. I should have written it down. I was thinking about it when I was doing the notes. Um, I can't recall, but they're showing it on the Criterion channel right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just yeah, drawing a blank.
No, and I think that that's the one of the great things about a festival is it allows you to be very surprised or be taken unaware by films as well, and you don't know all the time going in which ones are going to be the ones that resonate with you for years afterwards.
Yes. So How did you come into this role of programming? Is this something you went to school for, or is this something like how long have you been doing this job?
I've this will be the 10th year that I've been part of the programming team at VIFF,
Oh, okay.
and I worked in some other capacities for the festival on like contract roles before that, um, writing for the catalog. I prior to that wrote reviews for a number of publications in the city that no longer exist, like Terminal City and the West Ender, and
Oh, okay.
did some of that for international publications as well. and just kind of caught wind that the festival was like looking for. I mentioned those screening committees before, looking for some additional members for those screening committees, and I was curious about it, so volunteered initially to be writing reports on submissions, and got some paid work that year, writing notes for the catalog and for the website, and then kind of just amassed more responsibility onto that humble beginning from there.
Huh. So how long have you been director of programming?
This is the first year. Yeah, I was associate director before that.
Oh, okay. So how does it feel to be in the in the head honcho seat, basically? I mean, it's
Yeah,
gonna be there's a lot of teamwork.
there is. Yeah,
You
and I
gotta
think it's
not just a one man show or
not at all. And I,
one
yeah,
person
would
show
hate for
rather.
that to be the impression. So I think it's, I think it's exciting to be able to think about how we build things back now as well. And, I think that goes beyond just the film programming, but, we have you mentioned various events, but we also have creative development programming for emerging filmmakers and like ensuring, I know how difficult these films have been to make for these filmmakers, operating in COVID restrictions, things like this, and the fact that there's this entire next wave of filmmakers coming up who are going to have to apply their trade in a world that is kind of rebuilding right now. I think it's really important to have those sort of support systems and ways of platforming new artists as well. Also really excited that, we're continuing to build out our education programming. We have a VIFF Ignite high school screening series at the festival this year,
Yes.
which I think has, at last, as of yesterday, has over 3,000 students already enrolled for that, which is just
Wow.
fantastic. I mean, I wish I'd been able to do something like that when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and really really happy that we were able to offer programming like that as well.
Yeah. Well, and I just got a press buzz a little while ago that there's going to be a 20th anniversary of the Grizzlies.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're doing that too. So we have the Grizzly Truth having its world premiere by Kat Jamie on October 1st, and yeah, as part of the festivities, there'll be three former players from the team who will be there for the Q&A after the film. They're also bringing back Al Murdoch, who was the PA announcer in what was then GM Place, now
Yes.
Rogers Arena. The Some of the original dance team are going to be there. The
Oh,
mascot will be there, and yeah, we have a few more things to announce next week as well. But we're also going to do some outdoor activities following the screening as well. So it's going to be a really good time. But that's one of those things. There's still some moving pieces on, and it hasn't quite taken full shape yet.
well, and some of the events are quite quite exciting as well.
Yeah, no, I think the Nosferatu live score is going to be really, really
I'm
great.
looking forward to that.
Yeah,
100th year anniversary, and it's going to be a live event in the church there,
yeah, St. Andrew Wesley's,
St. Andrews.
and
The
and
sound's going to be incredible there.
yeah, no, it's I've seen shows there before, and it's just fantastic sound. And we'll also have the evening with Michael Abels as well, Jordan Peele's a composer, and composer in his own right, where I think he'll delve into his work and do a few pieces with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. So those are really exciting events as well.
Yeah, I'm most excited for Nosferatu. I think it led a lot of horror where it is today.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, they they kind of stole that whole idea because he would be creeping up behind somebody. They'd run, they'd trip, and then he was in front of them. And
Yeah.
they do that with the slasher flicks, you know.
No, it was really a foundational piece in a lot of ways.
So is this an actual print or is this what do you have
Oh,
an
it's
actual?
a digital projection. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I guess there's no other way to present it these days, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a few years, regrettably, since we've had something on film. A lot of films shot on film in the festival this year, but hopefully we get to project something on film next year.
Next year, yeah. All right. Well, is there anything you'd like to add at all?
I think honestly, yeah, I it's a program that we're incredibly excited about. So just encourage everyone to see as much as they want, and really, I think, you mentioned The Whale. There's a few other films there, like Sarah Polley's Women Talking, Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, which have a lot of buzz about them, which is very justified. They are excellent films, but I really ask people, like, roll the dice on something as well. So like see something you're already excited about, then also like take a look at the website, pick up a printed guide, and if something piques your curiosity even a little bit, give it a shot, because that's what events like this are all about.
Yeah, because I'm interested in Cult Jane, and I've got a list of, I don't know, I've amassed a list of at least 20 films so far,
Perfect.
and yeah, it's quite an exceptional year, but it's hard to, because I don't have the hard copy yet. I have to go get my media pass, but once I get the hard copy, it'll be easier. Yes, I know.
It's waiting for you right here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your taking the time to talk to me, and maybe I'll see you at one of the screenings.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks so much for taking the interest and taking the time to talk.
Not a problem. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Take care and enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you at the movies, I
We'll
guess.
see the movies.
Thanks, Curtis.
All right, thanks, Anthony.